دخل يلا أول واحد يقول أنا. Morning حسن. Morning guys, welcome back. So in the room now I have sorry, I have Hassan Ruhaim, Lulwa Tadrus, Janna Gouda, Maryam Ryan, Jana Graihi, Yasin, Yusuf Awad, and Hassan Gouda. Okay, so I have about 9 people or 10 people in the room. And I have shared the screen. Just I want to check that you can hear me. Can anybody answer me, please? Can you hear me?
Yes, Master.
Okay, thank you all. Okay. In the first session, we did the title The Sleeper, and we said the sleeper is Max, who's hiding in Hans's house. He spent the first night in Liesel's room and then went down to live in the basement upon his own choice. He sleeps under the stairs in the triangular place under the stairs. They put a mattress for him. You know, a mattress is martaba in Arabic, and they hid this place with drop sheets or some sheets, milayat, okay, and cover the rest of the place with some paint cans, okay. If anybody would come down to the basement and remove just one drop sheet or just one paint can, he can find Max. But this was the best place to hide him. It wasn't safe at all. This is why Hans and Rosa were not the Hans and Rosa Liesel was accustomed to. She saw that Rosa was pensive all the time, thinking, and she didn't used to insult her the way she did in the past. Liesel said that Max and her had 2 things in common: the agitation or the bad circumstances when they first came to Himmel Street, and number 2, they both nightmared all the time. They both had bad dreams or nightmares all the time. Okay? And as days turned into weeks, there was now, if nothing else, a beleaguered acceptance of what had transpired. All the results of, I think we did this page, guys. Yes, we stopped here. Remember the last part of page 147 was about a book titled The Whistler, which Liesel read or saw in the mayor's library. So her sightings of the Whistler of Hemel Street, Pfeffikus, remember this name? The man who used to say bad words all the time, and compared to him, Rosa was an angel, if you remember this. There was the memory of him bent over in his coat and his appearance at the bonfire on the Führer's birthday. The first event in the book was a murder. We are talking about the book titled The Whistler. So the first event in the book was a murder, a stabbing, a Vienna street, not far from Stephenson, Horsefandel, the cathedral in the main square in Vienna, Austria. A small excerpt from The Whistler. This is a small quotation from the book. She lay there, frightened, in a pool of blood, a strange tune singing in her ear. She recalled the knife, in and out, and a smile. As always, the whistler had smiled as he ran away into a dark and murderous night. So the book starts with a murder, blood, a knife, somebody lying on the ground in the square. Liesel was unsure whether it was the words or the open window that caused her to tremble. When she read these words, she started to tremble as if she were cold. She wasn't sure these words made her tremble or it was the cold weather. Every time she picked up or delivered from the mayor's house, she read 3 pages and shivered. 3 pages and shivered, but she could not last forever. Uh, Similarly, Max could not withstand the basement much longer. It was extremely cold for him. He couldn't complain, or he didn't complain. It means Said, okay? He had no right to complain, but he could slowly feel himself deteriorating in the cold. His health was becoming worse and worse in the cold. As it turned out, his rescue owed itself to some reading and writing. And if he didn't read and write, he would die long time ago. And a book called The Shoulder Shrug. Remember this title? Liesel said Hans one night, "Come on." Since Max's arrival, there had been a considerable hiatus. Said hiatus means break or stop in the reading practice of Liesel and her papa. He clearly felt that now was a good time to resume. Now, come, he told her. I don't want you slacking off. Go and get one of your books. How about the shoulder shrug? The disturbing element in all of his or this was that when she came back, book in hand, Papa was motioning that she should follow him down to their old workroom, the basement. They were getting away from Rosa, reading down in the basement. But Papa, she tried to tell him, we can't. We can't read down in the basement. Okay, guys, are you following up? She said we can because Hans or Max is sleeping down. What is there a monster down there? It was early December and the day had been icy. The basement became unfriendlier with each concrete step. It's too cold, Papa. That never bothered you before, but it was never this cold. It's the coldest day ever. When they made their way down, Papa whispered to Max, can we borrow the lamplight, please? With trepidation, the sheets and cans moved and the light was passed out, exchanging hands, looking at the flame. Hans shook his head and followed it with some words. Es ist ja Vansin net. This is crazy, no? Mm. Before the hand from within could reposition the sheets, he quoted, bring yourself to Max, please. Come out of this place under the stairs, please. So, I want someone to tell me what's going to happen down in the basement, just to make sure you are following up what is going to happen now down in the basement. Yasmin Said, can you hear me? Yasmin Said? Yasmin Said. Yasmin Said. Yasmin, you never answer me. Okay, I'll go to Yasin Said. Yasin, can you hear me? Yasin. Yasin. Yusuf Awad, can you hear me? Yusuf? Yahya? Yahya? Who can hear me, guys? Please put your hands up. I'm sorry to say that. Who can hear me then? I called about 4 names, nobody answers. If you can hear me, please put your hands up. Lalwa? Jana Garaihi? Okay, there are 5 people. So what about Hassan Ruhaim? Okay. Hassan Ruhaim, Tadrus, Yasmin Said, Yasin Said, Yusuf Awad, and Yahya Awad. Where are you guys? Okay, so what's going to happen in the basement Ryan?
Yes, Mr.
What's going to happen in the basement?
Me? Okay. They're going to fill up the tub.
Are you sure? Okay. Hans asked Liesel to get a book and go on their reading lessons. Okay. He went down to the basement and asked Max to lend them some light and able to be read there. The girl didn't want to go down because it was very cold, but Hans said it is all the time that cold, okay? She refused for something else. We're not sure what it is. Like somebody is chatting. طيب يعني just answer me. طب what about yours? My sound or my sound is unstable for you. Gentlemen, what about yours? Answer me. I called your name again and again. Okay, and people are answering me. Okay, so slowly then the drop sheets were dragged aside and the emaciated body and face of Max Vandenberg appeared. So Max will join them in their reading lessons. In the moist light, he stood with a magic discomfort. He shivered. Max shivered. Hans touched his arm to bring him closer. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Again, the place down in the basement was like a fridge. Like a fridge. Literally, Hans, or Max, sorry, was living in something like a deep freezer. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, you cannot stay down here. Hans said. When he touched Max's hand, he said, you cannot stay down here. You will freeze to death. He turned. Liesel fill up the tub. He ordered Liesel to fill up the tub. Not too hot. Make it just like it is when it starts cooling down. Liesel ran up. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. She heard it again when she reached the hallway. Why? Because, again, Max was freezing. When he was in the pint-sized bath, Liesel listened at the washroom door, imagining the tepid water turning to steam as it warmed his iceberg body. Mama and Papa were at the climax of debate in the combined bedroom and living room, their quiet voices trapped inside the corridor wall. He'll die down there, I promise you. This is Hans to Rosa. But what if someone sees him? If somebody comes in and sees him? No one. He only comes up at night. And Hans wanted Max to stay in the basement during daytime, and at night, when it becomes very, very cold, he wanted him to come up and sleep in Liesel's bedroom. In the day, we leave everything open, nothing to hide, and we use this room rather than the kitchen, best to keep away from the front door. Silence. Then, Mama, all right? Yes, you're right. Okay, so again, Max is going to stay in the basement during daytime, and at night he will come up to sleep in Liesel's room or share the room with Liesel. If we gamble on a Jew, said Papa soon after, I would prefer to gamble on a live one. And we don't, we put our life in danger, so we don't want to put it in danger for a dead body. Yani after if he dies, it will be a big problem. How could they get rid of the body? If we get arrested, so it's better to get arrested for a live one, not a dead one. Okay? A new routine was born. Each night the fire was lit in Mama and Papa's room, and Max would silently appear. He would sit in the corner, cramped and perplexed, confused, most likely by the kindness of the people, the torment of survival, and overriding all of it, the brilliance of the warmth. It was much warmer than down in the basement. With the curtains clamped tight, he would sleep on the floor with a cushion beneath his head as the fire slipped away and turned to ash. In the morning, he would return to the basement, a voiceless human, the Jewish rat back to his hole. This is a metaphor. He resembles Max to a rat hiding in the hole, which is the basement. The Jewish rat, referring to Max, hiding in his hole, which is the basement. Christmas came, it's December 25th, and went with the smell of extra danger. As expected, Hans Jr. did not come home because the last time he had a fight with his father, both a blessing and an ominous disappointment. It was a good thing because they didn't want him to see Hans, Max, and it was a bad thing because it was a bad omen. But Trudy, the girl, Hans's daughter, arrived as usual. Unfortunately, things went smoothly. Guys, I want somebody to read because I got tired. Who wants to read? Hello? Hello? Who wants to read, guys? Hassan only. Thank you, Hassan. Okay, go ahead.
It was decided that Trudy, despite her mild demeanor, could not be trusted.
Wait,
We trust only.
sorry. We need to read this part because,
Okay.
again, Trudy, Hans's daughter, visited her father on Christmas, but the boy, Hans Jr., didn't come. It was a good thing and a bad thing, as we explained. Everything went on smoothly. What does this mean? Max remained in the basement.
Remained in the basement.
Trudy came and went without
Trudy came and went without any
see him. So everything went smoothly. Sorry, Hassan. Okay.
no problem. Okay. It was decided that Trudy, despite her mild demeanor, could not be trusted. We trust only the people who have to, Papa stated, and that is the three of us. There was extra food and apology to Max. This was not his religion, but a ritual nonetheless. He didn't complain. What grounds did he have? He explained that he was a Jew in upbringing in blood, but also that Jewry was no more than ever a label, a erroneous piece of the dumbest luck around. It was then that he also took the opportunity to say he was sorry that Haberman's son had not come home. In response, Papa told him that such things were out of their control. After all, he said, you should know it yourself. A young man is still a boy, and a boy sometimes has the right to be stubborn. They left it
Sorry, Hassan.
at that.
Sorry, Hassan. Hans thought that his son didn't come on Christmas as usual because The last time he had a fight with his father, Han thought that his son didn't want to come because he was angry with him. But as we will know later, the boy was killed in Russia, right? Okay, go on.
For the first few weeks in front of the fire, Max remained wordless. Now that he was having a proper bath on, Lisa noticed that his hair was no longer a nest of twigs, but rather a collection of feathers. She whispered into her papa. His hair is like feathers. What the fire had distorted the words. I said, she whispered again, leaning closer. His hair is like feathers. Hans Huberman looked across and nodded his agreement. I'm sure he was wishing to have eyes like the girl. They didn't realize that Max had heard everything. Occasionally, he brought the copy of Mein Kampf and read it next to the flames, teasing at the content. The third time he brought it, Liesel finally found the courage to ask her a question. "I- Is it good?" He looked up
Remember
from the
when she
pages,
tried?
turning.
Sorry, Hassan, do you remember
Uh,
when the first time she went to the basement and she wanted to ask, when she saw the book, Mein Kampf, she wanted to ask him whether it is a good book or not. She said is, and couldn't complete her question. She went up to her room, stood in front of the mirror, and tried to practice saying the question, is it a good book? Is it a good book? And now she could ask the question because she is no more shy. She got to know him somehow, and she said, is it good? Okay, go on.
he looked up from the pages, forming his fingers into a fist, and then flattening them back out. Sweeping away the anger, he smiled at her. He lifted the feathery fring and dumped it toward, toward his eyes. It's the best book ever. Looking at Papa, then back at the girl, it saved my life. The girl moved a little and crossed her legs quietly. She asked how.
Wait. Okay. So Max means what he said. It's the best book ever, not because of the words written in it, because it's the worst book ever, because the one who wrote it is Hitler, the killer of the Jews. But it's the best book ever because carrying this book from the road or on the road from Stuttgart to here to Himmel Street, this book saved his life. Carrying the book saved his life, not the book itself or not because of the content of the book. Okay. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you very much for being active.
Welcome.
Another guy, another lady or another guy, please. I want someone else to read. Hello? Hmm. Put your hand up, please, if you want to read. Now in the room, I have Ali Gizi, Kiara, Gana Gouda, Hassan Gouda, Hassan Ruhaim, Lulwa, Mariam, Ryan, Tadris, Yusuf, and Yahya. So Yasmin and Yasin are not here. They left. Uh, who wants to read, guys? Gana Gouda, I haven't heard your voice for a long time. Can you read? Gana Gouda, can you hear me? Okay, Tadros, go ahead.
So we began a kind of storytelling phase in the living room each night. It was spoken just loud enough to hear. The pieces of a Jewish fist-fighting puzzle were assembled before them all. Sometimes there was humor in Max Wessensberg's voice, though it physically was like friction, like a stone being gently rubbed across a large rock. It was deep in places and scratched apart in others, sometimes breaking off altogether. It was deepest in regret and broken off at the end of a joke or a statement of self-depreciation.
Fabrication, okay. Crucified Christ, huh?
Crucified Christ was the most common reaction to Max Weisenberg's stories, usually followed by a question. Questions like, how long did you stay in that room? Where is Walter Kugler now? Do you know what happened to your family? Where was the snorer traveling to? A 10-3 losing record? Why would you keep fighting him?
If you remember this part, when he used to fight with Kugler, his friend back at Stuttgart, and he lost 10-3. Okay, he remembered or asked these questions again and again. This is Max. Go on.
When Liesel looked back on the events of her life, those nights in the living room were some of the clearest memories she had. She could see the burning light on Max's eagle face and even taste the human flavor of his words. The course of his survival was related piece by piece as if he were cutting each part out of him and presenting it on a plate. I am so selfish. When he said that, he used his forearm to shield his face, leaving people behind, coming here, putting all of you in danger. He dropped everything out of him and started bleeding with them. Sorrow and desolation were clouded across his face. I'm sorry. Do you believe me? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I am. His arm touched the fire and he snapped it back. They all watched him, silent until Papa stood and walked closer. He sat next to him. Did you burn your elbow? One evening, Hans, Max, Lisa were sitting in front of the fire. Mama was in the kitchen. Max was reading Mein Kampf again. You know something? Hans said he didn't order the fire. Liesel actually a good letter reader herself. Max lowered the book and she has more in common with you than you might think. Papa checked that Rosa wasn't coming. She likes a good fist fight too. Papa, Liesel at the high end of 11 and still Rick skinny as she sat against the wall, was devastated. I've never been in a fight. Shh. Papa laughed. He waved at her to keep her voice down and tilted again, this time to the girl. Well, what about hiding you gave Ludwig Schmeichel? Huh?
Okay, thank you, Travis. I want to explain this part. Hans said to Max, Liesel and you have something in common. We talked about two things they had in common before. Both had nightmares. Both passed through the same circumstances when they first came to live in Himmel Street, and now they both like to fight. Remember, the first fighter is Max, and again, he used to fight with people his age in the streets of Stuttgart, back in Stuttgart, and especially with Kugler, to whom he lost 10-3. And now Hans said, you both and has more in common with you than you might think. Uh, she likes a good fist fighting or fist fight too. But this is the third thing Liesel and Max have in common. They both like to fist fight. Liesel didn't agree. Instead, I've never been in a fight. Papa said, shh. He waved at her to keep her voice down and tilted again, this time to the girl. Well, what about the hiding you gave Ludwig Schmeichel, huh? Remember when you hit the boy at school and you made him bleed? Thank you, Thaddeus. I need another guy to read, please. Another lady. Put your hand up, please, if you want to read. Hassan and Tadris participate in reading. Hello, people in the room. Who wants to read, guys? Type then I'll go to Mariam. Mariam, if you can hear me, please. Read. Mariam. Mariam, are you there?
Yes, mister, I'm here.
Can you read?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Liesel held her hand in her face in her hands.
Start here, please.
Once uncovered.
Mariam, can you see I never? Can you see this part?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I never. She caught further denial was useless. How did you find out about that? I saw his papa at the Noller. Lisa held her face in her hands. Once uncovered again, she asked the pivotal question. Did you tell Mama?
Wait.
Are you kidding?
Mariam.
He winked at Max.
Wait, Mariam.
And whispered to the girl.
So, again, Hans told Max that Liesel and Max, both like to fight. The girl denied this, thinking that her father didn't know about the time when she hit the boy at school. He told her that his father told him, and she was afraid that Hans would tell Rosa. This is why she said, did you tell mama? He said to her, are you kidding? Yani, I'm not the one who did this. He winked at Max and whispered to the girl, you're still alive, aren't you? If I have told mama, you would be killed now. Okay, go on, Mariam. Sorry. That night,
That night was also the first time Papa played his accordion at home for months. He lasted half an hour or so until he asked a question of Max. Did you learn? The face in the corner watched the flames. I did. There was a considerable pause. Until I was 9. At that age, my mother sold the music studio and stopped teaching. She kept only the one instrument, but gave up on me not long after I resisted the learning. I was foolish. No, Papa said, you were a boy. During the nights, both Liesel Meminger and Max Vandenberg would go about their other similarity in their separate rooms. They would dream their nightmares and wake up, one with a scream in drowning sheets, the other with a gasp for air next to a smoking fire. Sometimes, when Liesel was reading with Papa, close to 3 o'clock, they would both hear the waking moment of Max. He dreams like you, Papa would say. And on one occasion, stirred by the sound of Max's anxiety, Liesel decided to get out of bed. From listening to his history, she had a good idea of what he saw in those dreams, if not the exact part of the story that paid him a visit each night. She made her way quietly down the hallway and into the living and bedroom. Max, the whisper was soft, clouded in the throat of sleep. To begin with, there was no sound of reply, but he soon sat up and searched the darkness. With Papa still in her bedroom, Liesel sat on the other side of the fireplace from Max. Behind them, Mamma loudly slept. She gave the snorer on the train a good run for her money. The fire was nothing now but a funeral of smoke, dead and dying simultaneously. On this particular morning, there were also
simultaneously,
voices.
okay, simultaneously or simultaneously, both pronunciations are correct. Simultaneously, or simultaneously. Okay, so Mariam here, he says, both Liesel and Max, we say this the 10th time, both had nightmares, but in their separate rooms now. And uh, Rosa, what was Rosa doing then? She was snoring. She was, and here I'd like to focus on this expression. Sorry, I have two people waiting. Yasmin and Yasin. Okay. Okay. Look at this expression. She gave the snorer on the train. Remember when Max was going to Himmel Street, he was on the train. In front of him was a sleeping woman who was snoring all the time. Remember that woman? Here, Rosa gave the snorer on the train a good run for her money. Yani she was a much better snorer than the woman on the train, which means Rosa was snoring loudly while Liesel and Max were nightmaring. Okay? The fire was nothing now but a funeral of smoke, dead and dying simultaneously. On this particular morning, there were also voices, the swapping of nightmares. The girl, tell me, what do you see when you dream like that? Because both of them have nightmares. The few, I see myself turning around and waving goodbye. The girl, I also have nightmares. The few, what do you see? The girl, a train, and my dead brother. Remember that Liesel was always nightmaring about her dead brother and the train. The few, your brother. The girl, he died when I moved here on the way. The girl and the few are together. Yes. Okay. I want another. Thank you very much, Mariam. I want another guy to read. We still have about 5 minutes before the end of this session. I need a fast reader, please. Put your hand up if you want to read, please. I'd like to thank Hassan, Mariam, and Tadris for reading. I have Ali Gizi. Okay, Ali. Go on. Go ahead. Ali, you can start. It would be nice.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It would be nice to say that after this small breakthrough, neither Lisa or Max dreamed their bad visions again. It would be nice but untrue. The nightmares arrived like they always did, much like the best player in the opposition when you've heard rumors that he might be injured or sick. But there he is, warming up with the rest of them, ready to take the field, or like a timetable train, arriving at a nightly platform, pulling the memories behind it on a rope, a lot of dragging, a lot of awkward bounces. The only thing that changed was that Liesel told her papa that she should be old enough now to cope on her own with the dreams. For a moment, he looked a little hurt, but as always, with papa, he gave the right thing to say, his best shot. Well, thank God, he halfway grinned. At least now I can get some proper sleep. That chair was killing me. He put his arm around the girl and they walked to the kitchen. As time
Ali,
progressed, I cleared.
with Ali for a moment. So the girl decided that she didn't need any help from Hans anymore because every time she had a nightmare, she would get up screaming or wake up screaming, and he went and sat on the chair next to her, okay, watching her for some time. Now she decided that she didn't want her help anymore because she's old enough to cope with this or with these nightmares herself. Okay, so he said, well, thank God, at least now I can get some proper sleep because she used to wake him up with her screaming. That chair was killing me. He put his arm around the girl and they walked to the kitchen. Go on, Ali. Sorry. Ali, as time progressed.
As time progressed, a clear distinction developed between two very different worlds. The world inside the 33 Hem Street and the one that resided and turned outside it. The trick was to keep them apart. In the outside world, the Neither was learning to find some more of its uses. One afternoon, when she was walking home with an empty washing bag, she noticed a newspaper poking out of a garbage can. The weekly edition of the Mulching Express. She lifted it out and took it home, presenting it to Max. I thought, she told him, you might like to do the crossword to pass the time. Max appreciated the gesture, and to justify her bringing it home, he read the paper from cover to cover and showed her the puzzle. A few hours later, completed but for one word. Damn, that's 17 down, he said. In February 1941, for her 12th birthday, Lisa received another used book, and she was grateful. It was called The Mud Bin, and was about a very strange father and son. She hugged her mama and papa, when Max stood uncomfortably in the corner. Ali good zum Geburtstag.
Something
He
like
smiled weakly.
birthday. Okay.
He smiled weakly. All the best for your birthday. His hands were in his pocket. I didn't know, or else I could have given you something. A blatant lie. He had nothing to give, except maybe Mein Kampf. There was no way he'd give such a propaganda to a young German girl that would be like the lamb handing a knife to the butcher. There was an uncomfortable silence. She had embraced Mama and Papa. Max looked so alone. Hazel was swallowed.
Okay, Ali. I read this part. Thank you, Ali, very much. I leave the last part of this section. And she walked over and hugged him for the first time. Thanks, Max. Because Max said, I don't know, it's your birthday today. If I knew, I would give you a present. He had nothing but Mein Kampf. And, he wouldn't give this poisonous book to a 12-year-old girl because it would be like handing a knife to your butcher. At first, he merely stood there, but as she held on to him, gradually his hands rose up and gently pressed into her shoulder blades. Only later would she find out about the helpless expression on Max van der Berg's face. She would also discover that he resolved at the moment to give her something back, I often imagine him lying awake all that night, pondering what he could possibly offer. As it turned out, the gift was delivered on paper just over a week later. Yani he gave her a gift, but later he would bring it to her in the early hours of morning before retreating down the concrete steps of what